You look in the mirror, right, and you think you know exactly who is looking back at you.
Yeah, I mean, you have your name, your job, your relationships.
Exactly. It all seems very, singular. Like you look at an X-ray, you see the bone, and the doctor points to it and says, there it is, that's you.
Right. It's comforting because it's clean and it's visible.
But step into the world of deep psychology, like into the really ancient layers of the human mind, and that X-ray machine becomes completely
Oh,
useless.
totally useless. The picture just shatters.
Right. You realize that you aren't just one person looking in that mirror. You are, you're a crowded room. You are an entire committee of conflicting drives, desires, and these ancient patterns. And they're all basically fighting for the microphone.
Yeah. And today we are figuring out exactly who is sitting at that table.
Exactly. So welcome to the Book Nook. We are jumping straight into the mechanics of the psyche today, doing a deep dive into a really foundational text. It's called Goddesses and Everywoman, Powerful Archetypes in Women's Lives by Dr. Jean Shinoda Bolen.
Such an important book. I mean, Dr. Bolen is a psychiatrist, a Jungian analyst, and a clinical professor. She's got the credentials.
Oh, absolutely. And her mission here, the mission of our deep dive today, is to unpack how ancient Greek mythology provides this hidden blueprint for understanding a woman's personality.
Right, her drives, her inner conflicts. The goal is to help you, the listener, discover which of these goddesses are operating in the background of your own mind.
Or, the minds of the people around you. Okay, let's unpack this, because Bolen has this amazing foundational analogy for how these archetypes work.
The seed analogy, right?
Yeah, exactly. So she says archetypes are like the invisible patterns inside seeds, or like the structural blueprints of a crystal.
Right. They dictate the potential shape of a personality.
Right, but the environment determines how they actually grow. Like if you have a packet of seeds, the blueprint for a sunflower is locked inside one, and the rose is locked inside another.
Yeah, the potential is already there. That's the archetype.
But the soil, the water, your culture, that's what decides if that seed actually blooms, right?
Exactly. And that distinction separates archetypal psychology from, like, biological determinism.
Yeah.
It's not a rigid destiny.
Right.
If you plant a sunflower seed in terrible soil or block it from the sun, it isn't going to just magically turn into a rose because the environment wants a rose.
No, it's still a sunflower. It just might be, stunted or crooked.
Exactly. In human terms, a woman is born with certain archetypal predispositions, these specific goddesses that are naturally active in her baseline psyche.
But then her family dynamic or her socioeconomic environment, they act as the soil.
Right, and the overarching expectations of her society. They either water her natural archetype or they just pave right over it.
Which creates so much psychological friction. I mean, to understand how Bolen diagnosed this friction, we really have to look at the 1970s, which is when she was developing these theories.
Yeah, she was in a very unique position back then.
Totally. She was basically shuttling between two fiercely different worlds. On one hand, she's working with feminist psychiatrists, actively fighting cultural stereotypes and institutional barriers.
Right, the outer world.
Yeah. But then, on the other hand, she's training as a Jungian analyst. So she's retreating into the collective unconscious, dream analysis, archetypes, the inner world.
And that dual perspective gave her what she called binocular vision. Because prior to Bolen, psychology had a huge blind spot regarding women.
Oh, huge.
Right. The feminist lens focused almost entirely on the outer world, how the patriarchy and systemic oppression shaped behavior.
While the Jungian lens was all about the inner world, universal archetypes, and unconscious drives.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Bolen synthesizes this into the woman-in-between concept.
The woman in between, I love that phrase.
Right. Women are influenced from within by powerful archetypes, the goddesses, and from without by cultural stereotypes, what society expects.
And when those two clash, it's devastating. Like if a woman's inner goddess is fiercely independent, but her culture expects her to be a subservient domestic wife.
Her self-esteem suffers massively. She's constantly told she's broken or difficult just because she's operating exactly as her psychological blueprint intended.
It's so unfair. And Bolen actually brings up this fascinating historical context to explain why those cultural expectations got so skewed. She talks about old Europe.
Yeah, thousands of years before the patriarchal Greek Olympians.
Right. Before the Greek gods, we all know these cultures worshipped a matrifocal, egalitarian, great goddess. She was fertility, nature, life, death, a unified representation of female power.
It was a very peaceful existence. But then it got disrupted.
Violently disrupted.
Right. Patriarchal, nomadic Indo-European invaders conquered those cultures.
Yeah.
And they brought their sky gods with them.
Gods of war, thunder, lightning, very different vibe.
Very. And what happens is they basically fragment the omnipotent great goddess into lesser specialized goddesses to fit their own pantheon.
Right, they couldn't just erase her, so they chopped her up.
Exactly. Hera gets marriage. Athena gets the snake symbol but becomes a strategist. Demeter gets grain. And this historical subjugation mirrors the psychological suppression of women's wholeness today.
But, wait. Let me play devil's advocate here. If these goddesses were shaped by a patriarchal society that intentionally diminished them, why should you, the listener, look to them for empowerment today? Like, why not just go back to the great goddess?
That is exactly the pushback Gloria Steinem had when she read Bolen's manuscript.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But Bolen's point is deeply pragmatic. We don't live in a matrifocal utopia. We live in a society whose structures are still heavily influenced by those patriarchal systems.
So the Greek goddesses are like survival blueprints.
Exactly. They represent realistic patterns of how women actually adapt to living in a male-dominated world.
Ah.
Right, either by retreating, by joining the men and competing, or by valuing relationships despite the vulnerability that brings. They are battle-tested strategies.
That makes so much sense. Okay, let's dive into these strategies. Bolen divides the 7 major Greek goddesses into 3 categories. The first group is the virgin goddesses, Artemis, Athena, and Hestia.
And we definitely need to redefine the word virgin here.
Yes, she is not talking about a literal physical state. In psychological terms, a virgin goddess is a part of a woman's psyche that is one in herself.
Right. Uncorrupted by the need for male approval. She is sovereign.
And these 3 share a very specific cognitive style. You called it focused consciousness, right?
Yes. Focused consciousness.
Yeah.
It's basically the ability to concentrate deeply on a goal, like a psychological laser beam, while completely tuning out distractions.
Tuning out the noise, tuning out what other people want from them.
Exactly. So let's look at Artemis first, goddess of the hunt of the moon.
Oh, she is fierce.
Very. Her core traits are goal-directedness, independence, and sisterhood. She thrives outside traditional hierarchies.
Bolen actually uses Gloria Steinem as a real-world example of an Artemis figure. Like, women who bond in consciousness-raising groups or feminist collectives, they find their deepest bonds with other women, not necessarily in marriage.
Artemis separates herself from the patriarchal game entirely,
Mm-hmm.
but she does have a shadow side.
The emotional distance, right?
Yeah. She can lack vulnerability. There's this myth of the Caledon boar.
Oh, the giant, terrifying beast.
Right. All the men are panicking and failing to kill it. But Atalanta, who is an Artemis figure, she remains completely detached, fearless, and strikes it down.
Which is incredibly badass.
It is. But psychologically, it shows she cuts off her emotions to stay focused. Eventually, an Artemis woman must learn to let love in, or she becomes emotionally unreachable.
She has to put the bow down sometimes.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's Artemis. But Athena is totally different. Goddess of wisdom and crafts. She is the father's daughter.
Right. She doesn't separate from men like Artemis does. She joins them.
She rules by her head, not her heart. She gravitates toward powerful men and the corporate world. Bolen brings up Rosalind Yallo, the Nobel Prize winner, as an Athena. She thrived through brilliant laboratory strategy.
And political acumen. Athena evaluates variables and executes the most efficient plan.
I always think of the Athena woman's psyche as like a classic preppy wardrobe.
Oh, I like that.
Right. It's practical, it's durable, it commands respect, and it is completely unswayed by fleeting emotional trends.
Exactly. And this is where Bolen really challenges traditional Jungian psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Carl Jung basically said that logic in a woman was just her masculine animus.
Oh, which is so dismissive, like saying a woman can't be naturally logical.
Exactly. Jung pathologized female intelligence. But Bolen argues that Athena is a fundamentally feminine archetype of logic. When she's strategic, she's not imitating a man. She's expressing her innate feminine blueprint.
That is so validating. Okay, so Artemis and Athena focus outward, but what about Hestia, goddess of the hearth?
Hestia is fascinating. What's fascinating here is that she is the only virgin goddess whose focus is turned entirely inward.
Yeah, she represents inner-centeredness, spiritual illumination.
Right. Housekeeping for a Hestia woman isn't a patriarchal chore. It's a Zen-like meditation.
She's just tending her internal fire. She isn't attached to prestige or, like, climbing the corporate ladder.
No, she's unconcerned with all of that. But her danger is that she can become invisible in our loud, hyper-competitive modern world. She often has to borrow some of Athena's assertiveness just to survive.
So Artemis separates from men, Athena joins them as an equal, and Hestia withdraws inward. But what happens when a woman is entirely driven by the need to bond with others?
That shifts us to the vulnerable goddesses, Hera, Demeter, and Persephone.
Mm.
And their cognitive styles is completely different.
Right, no more laser beams.
Exactly. They operate on diffuse awareness. It's an attitude of acceptance and a readiness for relationship, like a highly sensitive radar dish picking up everyone's emotions.
But because they are so defined by their bonds with other people, they are highly susceptible to victimization and suffering, right?
Yes. In the myths, these are the goddesses who get abducted, humiliated, and broken. Let's start with Hera, the goddess of marriage.
The wife. She feels fundamentally incomplete without a partner. For her, work and education are secondary to finding a mate. That commitment is everything.
Right, the marriage is her sacred container.
Yeah.
But her shadow side is terrifying.
Oh, it really is. Because when Zeus was unfaithful, which was like constantly, Hera didn't punish him. She vindictively attacked the other woman.
Right. She misdirects her rage to protect the illusion that her marriage is still intact.
Bolen has this intense clinical example of a woman obsessed with spying on her husband's mistress. She was completely taken over by Hera's rage, stalking her, wanting to ruin her life.
It's a psychological defense mechanism. Blaming the mistress is easier than admitting her core identity the marriage is shattered.
Wow. Okay, then we have Demeter, the goddess of grain. She is the mother and the nurturer.
The maternal instinct personified. She provides immense physical and spiritual nourishment.
Yeah.
She loves being needed.
But she has some serious psychological pitfalls.
Yes, mostly her inability to say no. She has no boundaries, which leads to severe burnout. She gives until she's entirely depleted.
And then there's the empty nest depression.
Right, exactly. When her children leave or people stop needing her, she feels obsolete. In the myth, when she loses her daughter, she stops the crops from growing and starves the earth. It's a devastating depression.
Which perfectly transitions us to her daughter, Persephone, the maiden and queen of the underworld.
Right. Persephone starts out very receptive, compliant, just a nameless maiden waiting for something to happen to her.
Yeah, she's the ultimate anima woman. I love Esther Harding's critical analogy from the text for this. A Persephone woman automatically shifts her personality, rotating the facets of her crystal to reflect whatever the man in front of her desires.
She becomes a psychological chameleon. She loses her own identity.
But she gets abducted by Hades into the underworld.
Yes, and that abduction is a metaphor for severe trauma, a forced descent into the unconscious. But here's the vital point about Persephone. If she integrates those dark experiences, maybe a traumatic divorce or a psychological crisis, she transforms.
She doesn't just stay a victim.
No, she becomes the queen of the underworld. She becomes a powerful guide to the unconscious, often emerging as a highly gifted therapist or psychic because she knows the dark so well.
That is such an incredible arc of growth. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. We've talked about the virgin goddesses and the vulnerable goddesses, but there's a third category, and it only has one member.
The alchemical goddess, Aphrodite.
She is in a category of her own because she combines the autonomy of the virgin goddesses with the relational depth of the vulnerable goddesses. She loves deeply, but she never loses her sovereignty.
Exactly. She is the vision carrier. Think of the Pygmalion effect.
Right, the sculptor who fell in love with his statue and Aphrodite brought it to life.
Yes. An Aphrodite woman has that same transformative power. She can see the latent potential in someone, and by focusing her intense, warm attention on them, she inspires them to achieve their dreams. She breathes life into them.
But she has to be engaged. Like, Aphrodite women absolutely abhor routine. Clerical work, data entry, it kills their spirit. They will only throw themselves completely into creative, intense, emotionally engaging work.
True. But that craving for intensity brings the curse of love, her shadow side.
Because she naturally radiates this sensual, attentive energy, right?
Right. And people, especially men, constantly misinterpret that as romantic interest. She accidentally draws people in, leading to very messy entanglements. Plus, she's prone to being compelled into illicit, destructive passions just to feel that alchemical spark.
So she has to consciously learn to dampen her warmth sometimes.
Exactly. She needs to use Athena's logic to evaluate a situation before she lets her Aphrodite energy flood the system, or she'll get trapped in relationships that destroy her.
Wow. Okay, so we have all these archetypes: Artemis, Athena, Hestia, Hera, Demeter, Persephone, Aphrodite. But nobody's just one of these, right?
Right. We all have an inner committee.
Yes, the inner committee. Bolen uses the judgment of Paris metaphor. You know the myth where Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite are all fighting over a golden apple that says, "For the fairest."
Right, which starts the Trojan War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Bolen says that exact battle happens inside your head whenever you make a major life decision. These archetypes battle for dominance.
It's a brilliant metaphor. Picture your mind as a committee table.
Hmm.
The ego acts as the chairperson.
Okay.
Now, a healthy ego listens to all the goddesses. She recognizes their needs and decides who gets the floor. She manages the table.
But what if the ego drops the ball?
Then you get committee chaos. The ego is overwhelmed. The goddesses are standing on the table screaming over each other, leading to severe anxiety and paralysis. You can't make a decision.
Oof, I've definitely felt that. Or what about the biased chairperson?
That's when the ego heavily favors one goddess, say Athena's career focus, and actively suppresses the others, like Demeter's desire for a child.
And you can't just kill an archetype, right?
No, you can't. The suppressed goddess will stage a coup, often resulting in psychosomatic symptoms or sudden destructive mood swings.
Okay, so let me ask you this. If my inner Athena wants to spend the weekend prepping for a massive board meeting, but my inner Persephone is exhausted and just wants to daydream on the couch, how do I, as the listener, mediate that?
It requires a clinical skill, Quibble calls shifting gears.
Yeah.
You have to allow different archetypes their time and space. You tell Persephone, your need for rest is valid, but Athena needs to run the show until Friday at 5 p.m. Once the laptop closes, I yield the floor entirely to you.
You make a contract with yourself.
Exactly. You consciously shift from focused consciousness to diffuse awareness.
Which brings us to the heroine's journey. Bolen's central thesis is that a heroine is defined by making conscious choices. You cannot just go along with someone else's choice and say whatever you want to do.
No, you have to take the wheel. And to explain that, Bolen brings in the myth of Amor and Psyche. Psyche was given these impossible tasks, and the first one was to sort a massive, chaotic heap of tiny seeds.
Sounds like a nightmare.
It is. But it represents the heroine's task. You have to sort through your own mixed motives, competing goddesses, and environmental pressures to find clarity. You have to figure out which seed is Artemis, which is Hera, and which one your mother planted there.
Right, and that is exactly why this book matters. It liberates women from the guilt of not fitting a singular societal mold.
Absolutely. Freud pathologized ambitious women. Jung dismissed female logic. Bolen sweeps all of that away and provides a functional vocabulary for inner conflict.
And it benefits so many people. Anyone feeling torn between their career, relationships, and spirituality. Mothers facing an empty nest. Women trying to break a cycle of losing themselves in romantic relationships.
And crucially, men. Men who want to deeply understand the complex, multi-layered women in their lives can use this to develop profound empathy.
So, what does this all mean? It means that realizing there is a goddess operating inside you allows you to step back, observe the pattern, and choose your path with heart. You're no longer a victim to an invisible force.
Right. And the journey to balance all this isn't a straight line. The heroine's journey is actually a spiral, like a chambered nautilus shell.
I love that image from the end of the text.
Me too. We continually cycle back to face our nemesis, whether it's Hera's jealousy, Persephone's passivity, or Artemis's ruthlessness. You'll face it again and again.
But each time we do, we arrive with more consciousness. We're at a higher elevation on the spiral until we master it and achieve that inner marriage of opposites.
Exactly. And just to leave you with one final provocative thought, think about how this spiral operates today, right now in the digital landscape.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Social media algorithms are literally engineered to reward the Aphrodite archetype, curating beauty, seeking fleeting connections while demanding the networking focus of Athena.
While completely starving Hestia, the internet hates silence and slow processing. It's totally toxic to the Hestia baseline.
Right, so we've created this entirely new layer of the woman in between friction, caught between ancient archetypes and hyper-modern algorithms. Navigating that takes a much stronger internal chairperson than ever before.
Wow. The committee table just got a lot more complicated. Well, if you want to keep exploring the mechanisms of your own mind and uncovering the structures beneath our daily behavior, make sure to subscribe to the Book Nook so you never miss an insightful deep dive into the books that shape our growth.
Definitely subscribe.
And we want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell us which book you'd like us to explore next. We read every single one.